Welcome back to the Deck Brewers Cauldron, the series where members of the Roll for Geek and his team talk about some of their favorite Magic the Gathering decks and the cards and combos that make them tick. We missed you there for a few months, but we're back with some new episodes. During that break, we saw many of our videos take off in terms of viewership, but we didn't see a ton of likes or comments. So honestly, we're not entirely sure if you're enjoying our new content and would like to see more of it. I hate to sound like everyone else who's asking you to like, comment, and subscribe, but even just doing one of those, tell us that you're enjoying our videos and you would like to see more. All of that aside, let's dive into another of my longtime commander decks, Trostani, Selesnya's Voice. Trostani, Selesnya's Voice costs green, white for a 2/5 legendary Dryad. It has a triggered ability. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. It also has an activated ability. For a generic, a green, and a white, and tap it, populate, which means create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. So, Trostani wants me to make tokens that I can then copy, and I'll gain life as those tokens enter the battlefield. And she likes big butts. To that end, this deck makes 25 different kinds of tokens, and I expect you might not believe me when I tell you that I actually did try to streamline that a little bit. But I also wanted to make sure that I would be able to make tokens along every point of my curve, from Crashing Footfalls and Speaker of the Heavens to Griffin Eyrie and Staff of the Storyteller, all the way up to Sandworm Convergence, Crush of Worms, Desolation Twin, and Stormherd. With spells that heavy, and the fact that my commander requires so many colored pips, this deck runs a lot of ramp. Since my commander can only activate once per turn, there are also plenty of other populate effects in here, such as Growing Ranks, Song of the World Soul, Nesting Dovehawk, Bramble Sovereign, and of course, Primal Vigor to double up on all of my token creation. And yes, an Anointed Procession or Parallel Lives would be great too. While I've certainly reached some staggering life totals with this deck, this color combo lacks access to effective counterspells, and my focus on making this deck go hard in doing what it does mean that I only have a handful of protection, removal, and card draw pieces. That lack of interaction is definitely a weak point in my build. For the common good, Druid's Deliverance, Rootborn Defenses, and Amara Tondris are all good protection in a token deck. But for a deck that commits so heavily to the board, they could be bolstered with Heroic Intervention, Flawless Maneuver, and other similar pieces. Similarly, Sundering Growth, Aura Shards, and Hour of Reckoning are great removal in this deck, but Swords to Plowshares could always come in handy. To fit more of those pieces, I would have to remove some of the 40-ish token makers, copiers, etc. that really keep this deck humming. Honestly, I kind of enjoy its current go big or go home play pattern, so I'm probably more likely to retire it than to make any major modifications at this point. But I mention all of that in the case that you're thinking of building a similar deck, or at least to provide a little more context for the deck list. Speaking of the deck list, like all of our videos, you can find it linked below on Architect. Since it is one of my deck lists, you will also see cards that I have cut, cards that I am considering, and cards that I would still definitely like to add to this deck. But what would you add? Let us know in the comments, or just share a story about our friend Trostani. And hit the like button.